All right, guys, I am so excited to be here and share with you guys our birth story. It's always one of my favorite videos to record, and I love doing them as quick as I can after giving birth, just because I like to remember every single detail. I make these videos for myself just as much as I like to make them for you guys. So before getting into the birth story, I want to do a little gender reveal. I know that many of you are probably wondering if this is a boy or a girl. And if you're new, I'll catch you up to speed. This is our 8th little baby. And we have one girl, and then we had 6 boys in a row. And we decided to make this baby a surprise baby, which we've done lots of times in the past. We've actually this would be half and half. So with half of our kids, we've known the gender, the 20-week ultrasound, and the other half we decided to wait and find out when the baby's born. And I like both ways. Both ways have been very fun for their own reasons, but I think I really do love finding out at birth. It just makes the birth even more exciting. It kind of helps a little bit with labor, like knowing that I'm getting ready to find out if it's a boy or a girl. And I also had mentioned in a different video when I talked about this particular pregnancy that you end up getting a lot of comments when you have a lot of the same gender baby about it being the other gender, and people, just assuming that you want one or the other. And I just don't like any of those comments. Sometimes they come off to me a little bit negative. And so I really didn't want to find out while I was pregnant the gender of the baby, so I didn't have to hear, the different comments of if it was a boy after having 6 boys, because I know once the baby's born, no one's gonna make some of those comments that they make maybe when I'm still pregnant. So with all those things, we decided that we were not gonna find out the gender of this baby. And my oldest daughter really wanted to be the first one to know the gender of the baby and make an announcement. So she had picked out a really cute boy outfit and a cute girl outfit and a bow and a hat. And so it was her whole plan that the second the baby was born, I would put the baby straight on my chest. And if anyone that was in the room saw, no one say anything. And then she would get to flip the baby over and then announce to everyone if it was a boy or girl. And so fast forwarding into this birth story, I'll start back at the beginning, but right after I pushed out the baby, I did put the baby straight onto my chest, and I did not see the gender. And my daughter came into the room and we flipped the baby, and she got to announce that it's a girl. So it's our first girl in 13 years, and we are over the moon, beyond shocked, and cannot believe that we gave birth to a baby girl. It was a very exciting time for our family. We would have been excited either way. Obviously, I would have been very excited if it was a baby boy, but we are just beyond blessed, just cannot believe. We still are in shock that this is a little sweet baby girl. And she's in a gender kind of neutral, but really boy blanket, because we don't have any girl stuff yet. We were so set on it being a boy that I actually brought up all the little boy clothes and washed them and had them in the basket. We only have little boy blankets. This is kind of a gender neutral one. We are starting to collect some girl things as family members come over. They've brought me some little girl sleepers. My sister brought me some hand-me-downs from her daughter. And so we'll definitely have plenty of girl things. But right now, she is just binge. I haven't even dressed her yet. We've been skin to skin, cuddling in bed. And that's one thing that I just so enjoy after having a baby, is just spending a couple of really quiet weeks just cuddling and getting to know my sweet baby and establishing nursing and breastfeeding and just all of those types of things. And so that's all we've been doing for the last couple of days, is just sitting here and nursing. She's a wonderful little nurser. She loves to nurse. And we are so blessed to have lots of help with family members for our other kids and people bringing us over food. And like I said, people are bringing over clothes for her, which is just so fun. I can't wait to even like order some things of my own because it's been so long since I got to any girl things. She's had lots of bows on, but I didn't put her bow on right now because I needed you guys not to know that it was a little girl to announce her gender. So it was a very sweet little time, and I'm so excited to share with you guys the full birth story. While I'm sitting in bed resting and enjoying all of the newborn cuddles, I love having something fun and educational for my bigger kids to do. And this month's KiwiCo box arrived at literally the best time because my kids love doing KiwiCo. It's something that can keep them entertained for many hours. It's something that they can do mostly independently, and it's something that doesn't involve a screen. So I love that they are able to work on their KiwiCo while I am spending some time resting and getting to know our newest little baby girl. KiwiCo provides a monthly crate delivered to your door with fun, hands-on projects that are designed by experts and tested by kids. KiwiCo is perfect for hand-on fun that is also educational. And the best part is that there's something for every interest and every age. During this season of transitioning to a family of 10, I love to have something that is keeping my kids entertained that's also educational. And I think that's something that many mothers strive for. And KiwiCo makes that so possible. Not only do my kids love creating the different projects in their crates, but they also spend hours playing with them after they're done. With KiwiCo, they develop critical thinking, problem-solving skills, creativity, all while having fun. And for a mom, the best part is that everything that you need to make the projects comes in the box, so it's not sending you off to the store to find things or looking around the house. Everything is right there with easy to follow instructions so the kids can start working on their projects and dig in right away. I really think you guys would love KiwiCo as much as I do and my kids do, so be sure to check it out with the link down in my description box below, and be sure to use my code Our Oily House to get 50% off your first monthly crate for ages 3+, or you can go to kiwico.com/ouroilyhouse.
Mom, go faster.
Oh my goodness. All right, so let's get into this sweet little girl's birth story. I typically have all of my babies, so this is baby number 8, so I have a pattern. I have had almost all of my kids come within 2 days before or after the due date. So with having a lot of kids and a lot of data, I just assumed that this birth would be the same. And so when it became 2 days before my due date, I started to kind of expect labor to come. And as it didn't, and my due date approached, and then we got to the 2 days after, and then those 2 days were gone, I was kind of starting to wonder, like, what's going on? This is different. So now I'm 3 days late. Now I'm 4 days late. Now I'm 5 days late. And I know that that's still very much in the realm of normal, but for me, that's just not my pattern. And because I have such a big, database with all these kids, I kind of thought that it would just be similar to the other births. And so on day 6, so the day before I was a week late, I had actually really on day 5. 5 days after my due date, I started having some like Braxton Hicks contractions, which isn't normal for me. With only one other baby did I ever have any Braxton Hicks, and I normally don't have any. And typically when I have any signs of labor, that means the baby's coming. So I started to kind of think, like, 5 days past the due date, it was a Friday, that was probably the day I was gonna like go into labor. And I have all of my kids always overnight. Actually, I've had 2, like where it started in the morning and then they were born like evening to like 11:30 at night. But typically I start labor around like 10 p.m. and labor overnight, and then the baby's born at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And so I was thinking, I was at the park that day with my sisters, and I was thinking, okay, so probably what will happen is tonight around 10, I'll go into like full-blown labor and I'll have a baby at like 3 a.m. like I always do. So I come home and, go to bed. And the next morning when I wake up and I was still pregnant, I'm like, what the heck? Like, still don't have a baby. And now I'm 6 days later. I'm almost a full week late, which is not my normal. So on this day, we have a bunch of basketball games. 3 of my boys play basketball and they all had games this day. So we went to their games. My older boys play after my younger boy. And so during their game, I started having somewhat regular, I want to still call these Braxton Hicks, but I don't really know because my stomach was still just like tightening, not like a full-blown contraction, definitely nothing that was painful, just something kind of happening during the game. And this went on, this is probably around like 3:30-ish in the afternoon. And we came home, we fed the kids dinner, nothing's happening. And I was kind of getting frustrated. I told my husband that I thought there was a chance that I was in like early labor, but things weren't really progressing. Nothing was really changing. There wasn't really any pain. Like I was just kind of like walking around, making the kid dinner, and every once in a while, like maybe every 15 minutes, I would like feel like a contraction. I don't even know. I wasn't even calling him a contraction. A mild something that was like, something might be happening, but not enough to where I can actually like say that I'm in labor. And so we got the little kids in bed. My youngest 4 all went to bed that night, probably around like 7:30 by the time we got dinner and baths done and everything. So after I got them in bed and the kitchen was cleaned up, my husband was actually making us a special dinner for that night. So we were making he was making shrimp tacos. So around 8:20, after we had our little special dinner, I had a mild contraction that like partially broke my water. And this was the next thing that has never happened before. Like 8 kids, I'm thinking like, I know my pattern. My water has never broke before. I was like pushing the baby out, or I've even had a baby born in the water sack. So my water never broke. So that was like another new thing. I'm like, okay, so now I'm like later than I normally am. And my water, I didn't think it fully broke. It definitely like leaked out enough to where it was noticeable, and it continued to leak. And so I texted my midwife and just was like, hey, I think I'm still just in like early labor. The contractions haven't changed, but my water just like partially broke. And so I'm not sure if that means that things could just like speed up and go really quickly, because this has never happened to me before. We had one baby, our 6th baby was born unassisted on accident, and we didn't really want that to happen again. And so my midwife said, if you want me to come, if you feel more comfortable, I can just come over now. And so my husband and I decided that would probably be a good idea just in case things like turned really quickly. So she came, she got here a little before 10. And when she got here, I was still like kind of like cleaning the kitchen, walking around. I was like, I don't even really know why you're here. I'm not even in labor. I'm not having like any contractions. I mean, I am. They were like every 15 minutes, but so mild. I didn't have to rest through them. I didn't have to even like breathe or through like, like nothing. I was just walking around and I would feel like a little mild contraction. So with my water leaking, I was convinced that I would probably go into real labor sometime soon. So I definitely wanted to start trying to kind of speed things up because, you have to do it eventually. So I decided to start walking up and down the stairs. So I was going up and down the stairs, taking like 2 steps at a time to like really lunge. And when I went to the top, it would bring on a contraction, still pretty mild, nothing that I had to like lay in my bed and relax for. I am a Bradley method believer and love to lay in my Bradley method in my bed. And so I continued to do the stairs, and I had been texting my mom, my mother-in-law, and my 2 sisters that were planning on attending the birth that as soon as I had to like lay in my bed and relax, that I would let them know that it was time to come over. So I continued walking around, lunging up and down the stairs, and was a little bit frustrated because contractions were very mild and only every like 15 minutes. And so I didn't really think that I was progressing. Not much was happening. And around midnight, I was so tired. I was like, I'm just going to lay down and probably have the baby like tomorrow at like 7 or 10 o'clock or something. I don't know. I'm just gonna like give up. So I went and laid down at like midnight in my bed. My husband was in here too, sleeping. And I pretty much just slept and through like waiting through contractions. Like the contractions were like a little bit strong enough to wake me up. I think some of them, but maybe not all of them. They were every 15 minutes. I was kind of like dreaming through them where I would like have a contraction and kind of like forget like, wait, did I have one? Like recently I wasn't timing anything because they weren't really like close enough to think much of them. And so I just continued to lay in my bed and kind of work through contractions, like sleeping through them until probably about, maybe it was like an hour and 20 minutes. Maybe it was like I'm gonna say about 1:20-ish probably, where I had a really hard contraction that basically like shot me out of the bed. Like I like woke up my husband, was like, I need help. It's like some counter pressure was like all in my back. And up until then, they'd all just been in the front, which I know most women get contractions that like radiate from the front to their back or their back to their front. I hardly ever have any of that. It's always just in my front. And that one contraction at like 1:20-ish, I would say, I had like a really hard contraction where it was like in my back. So I woke my husband up and told him to put some pressure on my back to help kind of like relieve that pain a little bit. So we did that. And I think I had like one more contraction and I felt a lot of pressure. And I told him that I thought that I needed to start pushing. And so he went over to the stairs to call down to my midwives, who were both here at this point, just kind of like sleeping on the couch downstairs. And just, he was like, I think she's ready for you. So they came up and I was definitely in the pushing phase of labor. And this is typical of my labors, that my contractions don't get closer together. I feel like normally they get more intense because I never really had to get in my Bradley method at all. They were just very mild until that last one that woke me up. And so this point would have been the time probably to like text my mom and my mother-in-law and my sisters, tell them to come over. But we went straight into pushing and that part got pretty intense for me. And so I didn't even like think about texting anyone. I totally just, it didn't cross my mind. So for my pushing part, the contractions were pretty much on top of each other, which is again normal for me. Normally that's how it is. I feel like sometimes I get a little more of a break. This felt like just a straight like 15-minute contraction where it like didn't stop. I wouldn't say it was extremely painful, lots of pressure, but pushing always feels better for me. Like when I'm like pushing through it, it like takes away the pain a little bit. And so I was just pushing here on my bed. I did a couple different positions, just whatever felt the best for me, but it did not take long. It was about 15 minutes total of pushing, which is, I have kind of like a little over the board with pushing. I've had a few where I didn't have to push long at all. And then I've had a few where I've had to push for one for like 2 hours, I think 2 hours. That was my longest. And then one for like an hour. So I never know when I get to the pushing part if it's going to be short or if it's going to be fast. But this time I was pretty convinced it was going to be short because right when I got to the pushing phase, I could like feel that her head was really low. I could feel a lot of pressure, and each time I pushed, I could feel it like coming lower. And so I knew that it wasn't going to take long. So I did a few just like on my hands and knees here in my bed. I leaned up against my bed frame here, and then I ended up standing up just right here on the edge whenever she came out. It was very quickly for me. I could tell that her head was right there. I felt like the ring of fire, which I always get excited about. Even though it's kind of like a painful, very uncomfortable feeling, I'm like, oh yes, we're there. Like, we're almost done. And her head came out and her body came out, and my midwife caught her and I grabbed her right away and put her straight on my chest. My midwife did see that she was a girl right away. I did not know. I laid her on my chest and just laid down here on my bed. And then I was like, I need to text my sisters. So I grabbed my phone and I texted my sisters and my mom and my mother-in-law and just said, baby is here. And then I said, sorry, because they were all planning on coming. My one sister usually takes photos for me. And so I was like kind of sad that they didn't make it, but also like excited that it went so fast. I didn't even have time to like warn anybody to come and that the job was done and she was out. And so I laid here for like maybe a minute or two. And then my husband went, my daughter was actually sleeping. She decided that she did not want to be in the room when I gave birth. I tried to kind of convince her to be, but she didn't want to be. And so she came right in and I flipped her over towards her and she goes, "It's a girl, it's a girl. I have a sister, it's a girl." Like, very excited. I was very emotional. I was crying. I kept saying I would be just as excited if it was a boy, because I would be excited as a boy, but I was just like very shocked. My husband and I both could not believe it was a girl. We were so convinced it was a boy. And we had been stressing the boy name because we didn't have any name really fully picked out, even at a week late. She ended up being born exactly a week late to the day because she was after midnight on that Saturday. So she was born on a Sunday morning, early morning, just like all of my others. Over in the middle of the night at like 1:40 was her official birth time. So she stayed with my normal pattern of having a baby overnight, which I always think it would be so fun to have like a daytime labor and like give birth at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but that doesn't happen for me. So she came in the middle of the night. My youngest boy woke up. He's like 1.5 years. He woke up during it. So he was out in the room. My husband was just holding him. And then my daughter obviously came in. The other boys all stayed asleep and we didn't wake anybody up. They came in the morning. And as they came in, and we'd asked each one, like, they'd come running in, really, they were so excited, like, "Is it a boy or a girl?" And I was like, the older ones kind of had a feeling it was happening because they knew the midwife was coming and that my water had broke before I went to bed, or before they went to bed. So they like already were pretty excited. The little boys had no idea. But as they came in, they were asking, you know, is it a boy or a girl? And I made them all guess, and everybody guessed boy. And we was very shocked when we told them that it was a little girl. Now, we had our girl name picked out for many years. Every single one of our boys were going to be named Anna if they were a girl. And so having a girl name was easy. We knew for sure if we had a little girl, we were going to name her Anna. It's just a name that we always loved and thought was beautiful. And so that's her name, little sweet Anna. And we just could not be happier. She's been a very sweet little girl. She loves to nurse and cuddling with me. She's been on me skin to skin pretty much since she's been born, and we are just soaking up all of the newborn sweetness. Her birth couldn't have gone any better. It was such a sweet, very easy birth for me. Like I said, the pushing was intense, but that part's always a little intense, but it was quick and fast, and she was perfectly healthy. My midwife said that, I don't even remember saying this, but right after she came out, she didn't cry in the first, I don't know, maybe like 10 seconds. And she said, when I put her on my chest, I kept saying, "Is he okay? Is he breathing?" And she said that she was kind of laughing on the inside. I had told her if she saw the gender not to say anything. So she didn't say anything, but she said it was funny because I just so assumed it was a boy that she said it was funny how I was saying, just calling the baby a he, until my daughter told us that it was a girl. So anyway, that is our birth story. Very kind of straightforward, a little bit different, I guess, for me with being later than normal. I know that's still very much in the realm of normal, but for me, it's a little bit later than I normally am. The water breaking first was definitely something new. That's never happened for me, but overall, it was a very nice, peaceful home birth, and we couldn't be happier to welcome our little sweet Anna into our family. I didn't know if we would ever get to use our little name, Anna, that we've had picked out for so many years. And so we're so thankful that we have her in our family. And so thank you guys so much for watching and enjoying this little birth story for our 8th baby. If you're new here, search Arley House birth stories. I have all my other birth stories, not all of them, most of them, here on my YouTube channel. If you are someone that wants to have a positive natural birth, I talk a lot about the Bradley method and relaxing through contractions. And I think that listening to birth stories, positive birth stories, can really help with birth. And so if you are pregnant or wanting to have a natural birth, go back and listen to some of the birth stories. They're always my favorite ones to record and my favorite ones to re-listen to over and over again. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys all in the next video.